Just over there.
All right, it is now 6:02. Please rise to the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yep.
I'm going to regular protocol a little bit because we have 3 members on the board that have voted on a resolution. Debbie Dowry has to reach soon. First of all, take attendance. I am Mike Bond.
Megan Devine.
Simpson. And Joe LeCondre is not here today. All right, so what I want to do is since we have 3 members of the board here that are not on the library board, we can vote on this resolution to actually give a volunteer a voucher, not a voucher, but actually a registration to the transfer station, get a card there and so forth. And for those of those that have got those cards already and paid for it, they will just get $20 worth of coupons. So I think we already read this resolution, so there's no need to go through it. I make a motion to pass the resolution, provide the Hurley and West Hurley. Resolution to provide Hurley and West Hurley Library Board volunteers with transportation permits. Do I have a second? All right, seconded by Gregory. All right. In discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Back to our regular schedule.
That was easy.
Quick and painless.
Okay, what we're doing first of all, because Montiora is here, my old school, and they had to do a presentation. Their vote is on.
Tuesday, May 20th, from 2 to 9 p.m.
All right.
Victoria, I'll bring up the presentation. Just tell me when you want me to switch pages.
What are we doing? This is a presentation from Montiora School on the right side up Germany.
What's up?
Right side up.
I think so.
We do public comment after. They have to read. They go to the right side.
So, on the second slide, you can see that our 2025-26 proposed budget is $63,558,650.
Yeah, but-
Increase of 2.03%. And we are using $2.5 million of appropriated fund balance. We use appropriated fund balance every year. This is actually lower than we have used in the past 2 years. So some of the budget highlights, we are continuing all of the programs that we have in place now, continuing to replace our instructional technology, continuing to renovate classrooms and active learning spaces at the middle high school. Continuing to work with our multi-tiered system and support process that we just initiated this year with the Branching Minds data program. We are continuing to provide training for staff, specializing in multi-sensory reading and math. And this year we're bringing back our Summer Skills Academy. We had to suspend it last year due to construction. And we are continuing to provide the enhanced mental health supports that we have for the past few years. Our partnership with Master, our partnership with Morningside for our elementary SEL programs. So all of those things are continuing on.
Moving on. Oops, sorry.
So the good news is our tax levy is going up by a 2% increase. And as you may know, the tax levy limit formula actually determines our maximum tax levy increase that is approvable by a simple majority. The formula would allow us to raise the tax levy by 2.99%. It was important to our board that we stay at the 2%. So we work really diligently. Monticello Clerk, our assistant to the business, made that her priority, and that is yes. So you can see that historically we have kept our tax levy increase very low, even when PPI has been far higher than what our tax levy increase was, and oftentimes we would have been allowed to raise it higher. We have worked really hard to keep it low for the benefit of our community. This is Town of Hurley specific, and this shows the tax rate change over the years. Pretty much what that illustrates is that although our tax levy increase is a particular rate, every town has a different experience of that, and it is all dependent on the relative value of the town and the equalization rates that are in each town. And so this is the Hurley tax rate change. And as you can see, last year, because of the 100% equalization rate, the tax rate actually went down by 54%. This is a really simple way to look at the components of a school budget. And so for us, as you can see, instruction is almost half of the pie, and benefits is about a quarter of the pie, actually a little more. As we have 23% for active retirees, and we spend 10% of our budget on our retirees, like active employees and retirees. Sorry. Transportation is just under 10%. Operation and maintenance a little under 5.5%. Debt service interfund transfers 1.97%. We actually don't have any debt, but we do have interfund transfers in our budget. And general support is 3.72%. So that is really what you want to see in a budget. Focus on the people who help provide instruction for our students. This is a state mandated version of the budget. We have to show it in this particular 3 parts: capital, administrative, and program. And that really does even better illustrate that almost 80% of our budget goes to program, which goes directly to the students. Capital being the maintenance of our buildings, and everything related to those buildings, and administrative being things like central administration, but also our legal fees, our insurance fees, the BOCES administrative costs. So that's not just administrators, that's administrative costs. Yes, sorry, I'm
Sorry,
galloping through.
I know.
Feel free to stop me.
Yeah, so when you say program does program include teachers?
Yes. Teachers, teaching assistants, yes.
How many teachers do you have out there?
I believe we have about 120 people.
And I just have one more question. Sure. So I noticed in your report, and I'm not preempting anything, I'm just noticing that there's nothing about student outcome. So I'm just curious about that. You can address that not now, but whenever for your presentation. But I'm just curious about the relationship to the budget. What's the output from the students? How are they doing in terms of their class rates and how are things going in terms of our students?
I think that's actually a very complex and nuanced answer. The sort of overall answer is our graduation rate is in the 90s, which is wonderful. But there are milestones all through their careers, and if you would like, I can get you a copy, or you can find it on the website. Our full budget book actually includes the entire school report card that you can find online. The state as part of the rules insists that we include it in that budget book.
Yeah, I know I can access it. It's just
Right.
it was a curiosity. You're making a really important presentation here about
Yes.
budget, and you're talking about programs and the percentage of the budget that goes to programs, but there's no information directly about student outcomes. And
Right.
I just find that curious.
Okay, you're right. I will make a note of that, and we will look at that. But
That's right.
Yeah, right.
so this is the proposition that will be on the ballot with respect to the actual budget. So proposition 1 is to authorize the amount of the budget, the 63,560, which includes within it $20,000, which we include in our budget and then give to our public libraries rather than the district. And this is for the next school year. We also need to share with everybody if the budget fails next week on Tuesday, the 20th, then the district can bring the same budget back to the voters, can bring a different budget to the voters, or can, just go directly to the contingent budget. If the, district wants to submit either the same or different budget, there is a statewide date, just like May 20th is the statewide first budget vote date. June 17th is the statewide second budget vote date. So any district who has a defeated first budget and wants to bring a budget back to the voters, that is the day. If the budget is defeated a second time, then we are required to go to contingency. The rule for contingency now is that we would not be able to increase the tax levy any more than it was in the prior school year. And so that would require us to make about $968,000 worth of cuts in order to not raise the tax levy any more than it was currently. As a side note, hang on.
Okay.
That's okay. The other rules that apply under contingent budget, we are not allowed to purchase equipment. I have no idea where that came from. It's been as long as I've been in school administration, but that would mean that $225,000 would immediately come out of our budget. So that would come off the 968. So then we would have to reduce by the difference of that. There's also an administrative component tab, and we would be required to charge for the use of our facilities, even by organization, PTA and district.
You wouldn't be authorized, but you would do so based on the fact you have to.
We would be required to,
You would be required for, so all the rep programs would have to pay to use the facilities.
yes. That's part of the contingent budget rules, unfortunately. This is the proposition language, the legal ballot proposition language for Proposition 2, which is basically to allow us to move forward with a capital project that will essentially lead us to fulfilling the board goal from May 2023 to end up with a central campus in Boyceville. So this will authorize a project in the amount estimated at $70.5 million. We will be using $15 million of reserve and cash on hand, and then looking to borrow an amount not to exceed $55.5 million. The things to understand about this project, and we're going to get into some of the scope of the project, but the things to understand are, first, what will we get? We will get an incredible central campus that will really honor the community vision that we built over the course of about a year and a half, multiple visioning sessions and community forums. And it will create an equitable, wonderful instructional program that really takes advantage of everything that we have in this district and creates an asset for our community, but really prioritizes our students and our staff and make sure that we're really creating a gem for our community. So what does it prevent? When we started this discussion back in 2023, there was no concern with our state funding. But last year, you may recall, the governor decided that she was going to eliminate foundation aid over the course of 2 years for those districts who are considered wealthy and overfunded. Unfortunately, Ontario is in that category. So last year, when the governor proposed that, she was proposing that we would lose $6 million worth of aid over the course of 2 years. Thankfully, that was sort of brought back because I think she did it very poorly, and it was very sudden, and no one had anticipated that this was even going to be a decision. But she did then commission the Rockefeller Institute to study the foundation aid formula. There seems to be a consensus that the formula needs to be revised. She did change a few small components this year, but nothing drastic. But they continue to track how overfunded we are. And between last year and this year, we went from being $6 million overfunded to being $7.3 million overfunded. So although this is not part of our conversation when we started this process to create a central campus, we are now really aware and concerned that in the next several years, this may happen in reality, and we could lose a huge amount of funding and be forced to centralize. We want to really avoid that. We want to do this in an intentional way that has been designed appropriately to create the best campus that we can for our students and our community. We don't want to ignore it and then 3 years from now be forced to centralize and not have made the improvements that we believe are really necessary. And the best part of it is how will it impact each of our taxpayers. And because we are using cash as part of it, and then when we centralize, we will be able to achieve efficiencies and savings, and those efficiencies and savings will offset the amount that we need to spend to pay for the bond. So this is projected to be a tax neutral project. This is the scope of work that would be done at the elementary building, and I really, really encourage anyone who's interested to go onto our Optimizing Outdoor website and look at some of the designs. We are looking at adding at the elementary building classrooms, expanding the library, adding new office spaces, adding bathrooms. One of the really important things that came out of our community visioning was changing the traffic pattern for the elementary school. So anybody who is aware of how that works right now, parents come up the driveway, go across the front of the building, drive around, drop their kids at the back, and then come back down the ramp. Out of our visioning sessions, we got suggestions that we direct that traffic pattern so that the cars do not go in front of the building, do not go around to the back. So it would bring them up to the front, drop them on the left-hand side of the building to look at it. There will be a new intentionally designed security vestibule, and then they would go back downhill. So once parent drop-off is done, we can just gate off that. Actually, once the buses are done, we can gate off the front of the building, and that can be entirely pedestrian only, and there will be no traffic in that area. And for my sanity, adding the security vestibule is so important because right now, the way that building is constructed, the doors are locked. But once you are in the building, once you've gotten into the locked door, you're just in the hallway. And there's no way to stop somebody. Having a security vestibule in this day and age is so important. And for me, that's really motivating. We would be adding a gymnasium that can be used for our secondary students as well. It can be sized appropriately so that we are constantly looking for gym space, especially during the winter season. That can be used for that. And for community use, we'll have a separate entrance, and there will be toilets right there by the new gymnasium so that if the community wants to use it, they don't need to go through the building. We need to replace the windows in that building, which will also generate efficiency and savings, but it's just really necessary. The windows are really big. We are looking to renovate the 2 music rooms. They were originally built as the kindergarten classrooms, and they're kind of an odd shape. So we're looking to square them off and gain additional space and add a 3rd music room. So that way we can have music rooms dedicated to orchestra, band, and chorus. And having all of the students together in one building is going to allow us to create such a rich music program. And people who had students at Bennett when it was in District 1, 4, 5, and 6 have that experience and now know that separating the children, it just really is detrimental to those programs. And also reconfiguring the cafeteria and kitchen, providing an outdoor space off the cafeteria so that our elementary students can also eat outside when the weather is nice, like our secondary students can. And then all of the not fancy, but very necessary drainage, electrical, boiler, fuel pump, and that. So at the secondary, we are looking to renovate our remaining high school science classrooms. We did one a few years ago because there was grant funding, but there wasn't enough to do all of them. And as I'm sure Mr. Brown's remembers our science classrooms are probably 40 years old at least. They very much need renovation. It's a disservice to our students to have them in the classrooms the way they are. We're looking to renovate our counseling center where our school counselors, or what those of us who graduated decades ago would call the guidance counselors, reside, to make it more of a wellness center and possibly incorporate some of our other mental health professionals in that space. A main office renovation, and who went to school in Ventura or who's been there in probably 10 years ago or more, would remember that the main office was sort of the hub. There were a lot of secretaries, there was a lot happening there, and we just run a building differently now. People are stationed at the doors, and that space is really underutilized, and our faculty had asked for us to carve out some space dedicated so that they could have smaller office space, smaller reading space, they could have privacy for when they need to participate in CSC meetings, other types of meetings where there's information that they might want to be sharing and talking about, but sitting in a classroom is not a great space for that. We're looking to renovate the nurses' offices because they were never actually made to be nurses' offices, and they should have appropriate medical space for our nurses and our students. We did renovate our auditorium probably in 2007, I think, and it is starting to look dated, and we believe that our students deserve a really wonderful space to perform in and to refurbish it before it becomes before it gets to be in bad shape. We want to make sure that it stays in good shape. So we also have some other campus and site work to do. Our wonderful multi-use field needs a new surface, and that will make it able to be used much more by more teams, items, things like mud and bad weather will not be as much of an issue. We need to redo our track. The surface of our track was redone probably 10 years ago, but it needs to be entirely replaced. We have resurfaced it and not done a good track replacement. We're looking to do field drainage for our other athletic fields because we did some a couple of years ago, but it didn't do enough. When we have heavy rains, it really comes down that hill and it impacts our student athletes' ability to play. We're looking to demolish the existing bus garage, which is also well beyond its useful life, because we are going to redo the traffic pattern on that end too at Middle High School and create additional parking. And then one of the gems that also came out of our community vision sessions was having a student commons. So if you're familiar with the campus, Middle High School is here and then it's up on the hill, and there's some green space in between. It has quite an elevation, so our architects, based on our community wishes, designed a student commons area with a walking path that connects those two to make one campus that flows. And that commons space is kind of built the elevation, has seating, has a place where students can gather, potentially use as an outdoor classroom. Just a really lovely enhancement to the campus.
Next. Sure. Whoop. There you go.
So, as you can see, the construction budget itself is 58,689, 360. And the thing to keep in mind, even with those numbers have a significant amount of escalation in them because we put those numbers on it today. We're not looking to build for another couple of years. So, working very closely with our construction managers who have a professional estimator, they put a significant amount of escalation in those numbers so that when we get to the point where we're getting this project out, we're not caught short. We have 20% for incidentals, things like the architect fees, engineering fees, asbestos statement, legal costs, insurance, bond counsel fees, to come to our total of 70 million, which, as you can see on the bottom, will be 15 million in cash and capital reserves, 55.5 finance for that total cost. And, we have those escalations in there. If we escalated and we plan for more money than we're gonna need, we won't use it. You know, we will build and spend as much money as we need to achieve the result we need, but if it comes in under budget, that's great, and we will save it. This is, and we apologize for the very tiny print. You can also find this, at presentations on our website. But this kind of shows how the, financing will be done. And this was provided to us by fiscal advisors, who was our financial advisor, who actually does this type of work in estimating or projecting, for capital projects for schools. Does pretty much all they do. And so this kind of explains how the money would be rolled out. So in the beginning, we would, as we're building, similar to if you're building a house, we would have a construction loan and just take money as you need it. And then once we really finish that building, then you would roll that into your mortgage, we would roll that into a bond. And you can see how it works out each year, the estimated bond payment, principal and interest. So the total debt service, the estimated local share, the consolidation savings that we are projecting leads to the estimated local cost, which you can see the first couple of years is $1,800, $2,700, and $1,700, and after that it is all negative. So I think that one column is on the next slide a little bit larger. So you can still see it. And that is how we get to So again, as I was explaining, as we are building, we will be using bond anticipation notes. So for the first 2 years, fiscal advisors estimated those carrying a 4% interest rate. Then we would roll those into a third once we would approach the construction. And that they have estimated at a 4.15% interest rate. So our annual debt payment would be averaged at about 3.9 million a year. We will receive building aid from the state, which is completely separate from foundation aid and is not at jeopardy. Our building aid is estimated to be $1.3 million a year. And the wonderful thing about that is even though we are only borrowing 55.5, they will provide us aid based on the entire project. So the $70 million, they calculate the use in that. And then our projected savings of $3 million, you can see the projected tax impact is really going to be, it's technically, if you do that math, it's nothing. So if this project passes next Tuesday, May 20th, we'll continue next year. The timeline could be we spend the next year working with our faculty, our staff, our students, our community on the design. And that's really important to do well and with faculty and staff input. I got suggestions yesterday from one of the music teachers about sound insulating the music rooms appropriately. But we're going to take our time and really work through the design phase with input from everybody. Then we would have to send those actual detailed architectural designs up to the state education department. They need to review and approve it. So we've left about 6 months for that. It would then go out to bid in the spring of 2027. We would award the bids, construction could begin in the summer of 2027, and then continue on through the summer of 2028. And then with our goal of bringing everything together in the fall of 2028. Also on the ballot, on May 20th, we have 2 board trustee seats with full terms, full 3-year terms from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028. There are 3 candidates who will appear on the ballot: Daniel Aliberti, Jenny Jarrett, and Rory Smith. Jared is here. Yeah. I don't see anybody else. Oh, here's Rory. Sorry. Rory Smith is here. Okay. I don't see Daniel Aliberti. Am I correct? No. Okay. But if you'd like to speak with them, I'm sure they'd be happy to speak with you. We will have get to know the candidates, lead candidate night, on May 15th at 6 p.m. So in 2 days, at the Middle High School Auditorium. The event will be moderated by the League of Women Voters. It will also be streamed and recorded, so if you are not available at that time, worry not, you can still get to know. So again, budget vote is May 20th from 2 to 9 p.m. at Bennett and Woodstock. And you still do have time if you wanted to get an early mail ballot. If you reach out to our district clerk at Central, fill out the application, hand it back to her, she will hand you back the early mail ballot. And as long as you have it back to her by 5 o'clock on May 20th, your vote can count. And if you have specific questions, please reach out to Ms. Claire or I. We are available at those emails or those phone numbers. Or there's also an email that is optimized now as well. We're happy to answer questions.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. First of all, how many students are there in the building?
1,044, I believe.
And 44, well, that's 13 grades.
Yes.
Okay.
So 20 years ago, when we were active in the high school, there were more students in the middle high school than there are in the.
When I first started teaching there were 1,700 students in the high school alone. Yeah. With the busing and everything, are you planning on busing all the students together?
No,
Bus run, you can have separate bus runs?
we would still maintain separate bus runs, and one of the reasons, I mean, we will gain huge efficiencies by having runs come to one place instead of going to two different buildings to elementary. But if you think about it, I don't think we would ever find bus drivers if we tried to make it one bell schedule, because their workday would be about 3 to 4 hours long.
Right.
With very it would be, and we would need double the bus drivers.
So also, are you bringing the 5th grade up to middle school or making the same time?
That is not the plan right now. That's something that has come up in multiple conversations. This project does not contemplate bringing the 5th grade. What we have said, hypothetically, is if we don't move forward with this project, or if it doesn't happen in time and here's our foundation, maybe we have to centralize, that would likely be one of the options that we would have. But it is not a plan. I don't want anybody to think that it's a plan.
My last question is, if the budget passes, the Proposition 2 doesn't, does that keep Woodstock School open?
I would actually frame it the other way. If Proposition 2 doesn't pass, then no. I need to stop working right now. Voting no does not keep Woodstock open. It gives the board time to review the exit poll data, look at what happened, decide how to move forward. But the board's goal is to centralize the things. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Woodstock will stay with it.
Questions, anybody?
Now, my concern is about the student outcomes. And so, you know, these are big investments,
Yeah.
and you know, it's really be great to at a presentation like this to have a sense of how the kids are doing in terms of, you know, various aptitude tests that they have to pass and stuff like that. So,
They do well.
We do well, but I don't have the data, so I don't want to.
no, we're not. You know, men just went, but
So my one question is for Prop 1 now. Actually, Lynn, you were saying this, and this is a very great question. You're supporting the public libraries, and which libraries are this? There's 3 or 4 in your school district.
Yeah, all of them.
So you can divide up to 20,000, 5,000.
It's not 5,000 each. It was actually a onto our district voter approved proposition about 30 years ago. And it lays out the amount of money that public library gets.
Okay, and this is something that has been happening.
Has been happening.
This is just to
For
extend
decades.
that 20,000 over
Yes.
the next.
It's
however
the
many.
same amount that has been in place for that.
Okay.
I do believe that Kingston does the same thing, although it's.
Right. No, I'm just was inquiring because it doesn't stipulate the actual libraries that were included in that?
Different districts do it differently. I think Kingston actually levies the library tax. And I know Highland does that as well. It's not collected as part of the school district tax and then redistributed. It's actually collected for the library.
And
Other
then,
libraries do have to do it. Anyway.
well,
Literally.
it depends on what Woodstock does.
Alicia,
Yeah.
Woodstock should have.
So, yeah, I'm sorry, I have two more. And I also concur with Mike about Woodstock. However, I know the trend is to centralize school districts. I know there's a large savings in that, especially if you're gonna be doing these upgrades. I understand the centralization of it. Hurley has lost West Hurley, as you know, and now potentially Woodstock. Geographically, that would put this side of Hurley, West Hurley, Woodstock, I'll speak for them, in a disadvantage. And I do know some of the largest increases in numbers of children are from this area coming into the school district. I just want you to think about that. And my last question is so when you remove the 15 million, what's left in your capital reserves for future and or investments?
the capital reserves are set specifically for that. We have several other reserves that we have on hand. So
Okay.
we have
So you're not depleting it fully.
we are not depleting all of our savings, absolutely not. One of the other things to recognize about the population shifts is that each year we have to shift the line for what students attend what building. And it's very difficult because oftentimes one road may be in one building one year and it has to shift the other way the next year. And for instance, this year, right now, for the coming school year, we have 39 kindergartners enrolled for Bennett and 29 for Woodstock. We always try to equal those out. We want class sizes to be equal and have students have the same opportunities. But what that means is taking students from one building and shifting them to the other, and it's very inefficient. We do it for the right reasons, instructionally, it's the right thing to do for students, but it creates a very difficult situation that we perpetuate year after year after year.
No, I understand, I agree, but you also have three municipalities providing you those 30, and then 1.5 for West Hurley, I guess 2 really for West Hurley, flew for 29. I just think, have you ever thought about a more central located and providing maybe a middle school and elementary school more centrally located? Older students can travel a little further, they can do that ride. Just something I didn't know if you had thought about, maybe a little.
Well, keep in mind that some of the kids that are coming to Woodstock are coming from even Bridge,
Right.
Showtime.
Right.
We are actually shifting them down.
Right.
So I don't believe anyone is finding the building.
Also, with the Woodstock schools, we're talking about next year being, this coming year being covered.
That's till the 28-29 school. Several years ago.
Do you have a proposition for what you would do with the school?
We don't have a proposition yet. It's a little early for that. We do know that the deed, right now, the deed restriction says that it needs to be used for school purposes or for residential. We've been told that an attorney could look to amend the deed restriction, but that wouldn't be our role.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. Please vote. Thank you.
Hey, John,
Yes, sir. Well, I'm all right.
you want to present something? It's up to you.
Oh, say that again, Mike.
Are you going to present?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll ask you. Yeah. Basically, a redo. So if you want me to, I'll go right now.
You have to leave anyway, right?
I'd like to go home at some point.
Yeah, what I want to do right now is,
We are way out of order.
I know, I just want to, you come from, where do you live? It's good, Eric.
Okay, you got a long drive.
We have a resolution tonight for the board to consider regarding the proposed new highway facility. This resolution is to bring us into compliance with state legislature requirements for alienation of parkland. The board has already, back in August, authorized work to begin on a proposed exchange of parkland. And back in November, the town board adopted a resolution expressing its intent to request that the New York State Legislature grant authority to alienate the portion of the Hurley Town Park by substituting in adjacent lands, so that at the end of the day, the parkland will have the same acreage before and after we alienate. Back in February of this year, the board adopted a negative deck for the project, and this is the next step in advancing the highway project. I should say that Senator Hinchy's office and Assemblywoman Schuster's office have been extremely cooperative. They've been extremely timely, and we anticipate that this resolution will be brought up in both the Senate and the Assembly before the end of session, which is probably, I think it's like June 12th or June 17th. So this will happen in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So this is, there are some wherefores and whereases. Basically, I summarized those, but the conclusion is now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Hurley as follows. The town board requests that the New York State Legislature adopt legislation authorizing the conversion of that portion of the Hurley Town Park comprising the project site for the purposes of constructing a new highway garage, which alienation will be offset by the transformation of an approximately 8-acre portion of the town-owned adjacent lands into municipally owned parkland. The town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor or their authorized designee to execute any such agreements, documents, or papers as may be necessary, and the town board hereby directs the town clerk to send a copy of the resolution and all supporting documentation to the New York State Senate and Assembly Home Rule offices, those being Senator Michelle Hinchy and Assemblywoman Hannah Shrestha. And if relative to the project, since I was last year, I think a couple of months ago, we incorporated comments from the Conservation Advisory Committee into the secret documents that the board had approved, and then those documents have been amended as per the comments of CAC, and then moving forward back to the town clerk. We also, on May 9th, this month, May 9th, we got a letter from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation responding to the town board assuming lead agency. Their response was way outside the time frame, but we always accept their comments, and they provide guidance to us in this document regarding Indiana bat, bald eagle, stormwater, wetlands, working with DEP, and also they're a little bit incorrect about solid waste. Someone apparently thinks that we've got C&D waste on this portion of the project, and we'll correct that. So the document we got from DEC on May 9th says they don't object to the town taking lead agency. You already took that. You already went through seeker, but it's good to know that they did not object to that, and we will take their guidance into consideration as we move the project forward. The resolution is for yours to consider, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
On the screen if you need it.
I don't know if I can get it. This is the, I think I had it. This is the.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So has the
Has the secret determination now been filed with the DEC?
Yes, we've noticed all of the interested parties that we've finished secret.
Okay. And the EAF was
Was
amended
amended.
with that?
Yes, that's right.
In fact, we have a resolution here because, the old secret that you did, it had mistaken it. It was corrected.
Well,
The amendment
No.
was correct.
we went through the narrative that we had did not include some information. I do not believe you need to pass seeker again. You've already done that. But you at that meeting requested that we
Change.
add to the file. And we did add to the file. And the information that we've added in no way changes, in our opinion, changes the outcome of seeker or changes the outcome of any of the topics within the document. The information we put in was just additive information.
And
You
it was
wind up
just-
at the same place.
And it was discussed at the meeting that
And
you
it
were
was-
going to do that.
It was all discussed and
Right.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I have the document here and it's, I see the correction there.
Yeah. So we need this resolution to be approved and then we will get it,
For the alienation.
working with town clerk, we will work to get it to the assemblywoman and the senator.
Does that bill get
Take a motion.
for bill or by
I'm gonna make a motion out of this.
sort of who we're staking as voters?
This is right here. It's not the one that's up there.
Not that one.
Yeah. The other.
Let me get it.
One's in the package.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
And that gives us one move, make a decision and so forth. So this is something that you need with the paper.
I'll say.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion on this?
It's the one in the packet?
One in the packet.
The one in the packet, it was not the one up on the screen.
From the one on the screen.
Any discussion at all? All in favor?
I see it.
Or whatever.
Aye, sorry. Yeah.
So, I say aye, Diana.
No,
And
I
Greg.
was trying to figure out what.
That was
Because
the
it's not,
correction.
it wasn't, this is not,
No.
yeah.
No,
So-
the correction on the secret.
The one that's up, yeah.
Okay. So, Lynn?
Yeah.
You will then submit to John Braxton?
Yeah.
Okay, John, so, Lynn will send you a certified, copy of the resolution.
Yep.
And then you're gonna present it to,
Yes,
Alderman Shelley.
Yes. After, yes. Yep. And I will see the senator on Friday and her staff and, we'll thank the senator for helping us because the senator worked with the assemblywoman's staff and, we'll let them know we're moving forward.
Okay. Thank you, John.
All right.
Okay. I make a motion to open a public comment. All in favor?
All right, so Meg signed up to speak. Meg Carey.
Okay, next.
I'm here again, as I have been for the last 10 years, to seek their support of the Catskill Mountain Railroad and its plan to and need to extend its route 1.67 miles from Route 28A to Basin Road, and also to support a trail that's in an appropriate way from the same distance. What has been presented so far is not a compromise. Because when one side vehemently objects to the terms, it's not a compromise. To be offered 500 feet, compared 5% compared to 95% for a trail only, is not a compromise, and the Catskill Mountain Railroad objects strenuously to that. The Catskill Mountain Railroad needs the extra mileage and a terminal because in order to be sustainable and to grow and to attract more special events such as dinner trains or Harry Potter or things that I haven't even thought of, it cannot stop nowhere at Route 28A, and to go simply one train length across Route 28A makes no sense whatsoever. As Lisa Berger, head of Ulster County's tourism department, said at one of the meetings, she said the rail and the trail are both vital to tourism and Ulster County's economy. The only engineer who was on this past Ulster and Delaware committee, the only engineer said clearly that it is doable to have rail with trail together for 1.67 miles. What is too bad that didn't happen was that an outside professional engineer should have been hired to look exactly at this 1.67 miles and give a professional opinion that we could all look at. That did not happen. The right of way of the Ulster and Delaware this section is 66 feet wide, and in some places 120 feet wide. It's plenty wide. If you just observe it, you may think it's a very narrow space, but it actually, the county has a right of way that's ample for both. And of course, we all care about wetlands, and that we would have, the railroad would of course follow and the trail as well what is necessary to meet the standards of the DEC. Much as was done at the Ashokan Rail Trail, where there's a very long boardwalk, beautiful one that goes over the wetlands. The same can be done. Time also has improved possibilities. So I just want to say, I hope that the town of Hurley will continue to support the Catskill Mountain Railroad and Rail with Trail, and that we can all look forward to something very special in the future.
Thank you, Michael. Travis Wilbur?
Hello. Travis Wilbur, West Hurley. This is actually specific to a ground mounted solar array that I had installed back in 2023. And this is specific to escrow payments and the problems therein, specific to the planning board. So I'll give you a quick cliff notes of what occurred. In the fall of 2022, I applied for a ground mounted solar array. It was subsequently approved in May of 2023. My last email correspondence from the planning board was early June of 2023. When I was approved, I was shocked when they told me that I had to pay $4,500 for a site plan. This included attorney fees, consulting fees. Throughout the duration of my attendance, I had absolutely no idea what I was responsible for. I initially went, they gave me a fee schedule. It had small sums of money that I was not concerned with because the solar company actually pays for them as part of the project. You know, this included $100 for a plan approval or certain little things that were minor. I had no idea. So I was not told about this until June 1st of 2023 that I was responsible for this $4,500. So much to the point where I had to borrow money to cover it because at this point I was contracted in. I had to do it. I fought a long time for these solar panels. I reached out to, I even reached out to the attorneys and said, is there a payment plan? Is there something we can do? I have a family, I can't, because I don't have this money. But I made it happen. Subsequently, my certificate of compliance was given in July 2023. 2 full years later, about a month ago, I received an additional bill of $847.50. That's in addition to the $4,500 that I paid in 2023. Again, I never received any monthly update. I never received any escrow fee, balance sheet, nothing. Not even the time that I paid. It was a conversation over the phone. They verbally estimated about how much I was responsible for paying. I wrote them a check. I never got a receipt. I never heard anything. And then here we are 2 years later, I get an additional $850. So what I'm hoping from the board is that you can consider that the town code was not followed specific to Chapter 19 escrow accounts and in any capacity throughout the entirety of my application process. That's specific to the $4,500. The escrow code in additional was not followed following the approval throughout the last 2 years for the $847 in the way that I was not updated or communicated with in any way. So what I'm hoping is that you consider negating those funds. One, the $850 that's on the docket that I'm, charged with being paid now. And also to look at the fact that the attorney and consultation fees with regard to the planning board and their failure to follow Chapter 19 throughout in terms of informing me as a homeowner and apply them as they were applied to other cases that have gotten public attention this year with specific to, refunding people's escrow. They had paid for it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
Have you know what kind of balance you have in escrow right now? What the balance is?
So the balance, my understanding is the $847 is what would bring it up to what we paid. The $500 initially was a deposit that I made in January. This year? No, in 2023. The $4,000 was what was the surprise payment. I had no idea I was responsible for paying. That was made in early June of 2000. But again, I had no idea. Now this thing, this is a Supreme Court lawsuit that I was provided by my next door neighbor. If you guys know him, he's a nightmare. I hope you don't, for your own sanity. But he bought the ground mounted solar array throughout. I understood that as a local homeowner that he had an opinion. He was able to express that opinion, but he was able to provide, and I'm not exaggerating, if anyone here is familiar with it, 200 pages of documentation attempting to combat my solar array. And the red carpet was rolled out for him, essentially. So I only say that because with this Supreme Court lawsuit, my fees that I've discussed, my attorney's fees in Supreme Court, and the fees when it came to the landscape plan in order to fall within the site plan that was approved, it's approaching $20,000. That's just the amount of money that I've had to pay to have permission to build a ground-mounted solar array on my property. I don't think that's what Hurley represents. I don't think that's what has been conveyed when it comes to solar. It's expressed even in your website that you guys are pro-solar, pro-renewable energy. But as a homeowner that went through this process, it's an absolute nightmare. So I'm asking for some kind of reprieve. I'm hoping that in this case, it's in the form of, a financial refund. That's my hope, but.
So
You said that you had a conversation with somebody, that you know who that somebody was?
Yes, sir. It was, Maggie. She worked down at the, down at Hurley.
Oh, the court.
Yes, and she, you know, she was very kind, and it just, the duration of the 8 months or 6 months that I spent dealing with them, I've been in construction my whole life. I've been a member of, you know, other organizations that have official type meetings and the way that they're structured. Without being unkind, it was the most unprofessional, unorganized, and dare I say, incompetent, structured thing that I've ever witnessed in my life. Now, certain people on the board were great. They were rational. They had rational questions. I answered them. Other people, most notably the person that was in charge, and McKnight's, were not. And I reached out with my issues, specific to both of them. I reached out to the supervisor after I received the bill, talked to her on the phone. She said there was nothing that she could do. You know, and it wasn't until all of this became public with regard to the chapter 19 and the code and escrow and et cetera, that I became aware. And then this was just like, the 850 was just a, you know, pick with the side.
Did your neighbor take you to court? Is that what they told
Yes, and he specific, and again, you guys have at it, but he specifically cited the decision made by the planning board that being made incorrectly as the reason for the lawsuit. Now, there were other things.
Like, why would you?
So he chose not, I believe it's called Article 78, is that what it's called? Which is against you. He chose not to do that for whatever reason, and I thought I was in the clear. The 30 days went by, I said, great, and then I received this in October. He had claimed that it was made an error. He threw some other things in there, like a pile of brush that was in the area that was getting fire code, and he kind of threw whatever at the wall to see that it could stick. But the primary driving force for his lawsuit was specific to, you know, what had occurred at the planning board over those 8 months. And
I was on the planning board at that time.
oh, I remember. And again, you were one of the other ones. You, Mr. Bruckner, like, there were several people that were very helpful, and fortunately, the person in charge, and it just, it fell on deaf ears. And here I am.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. First of all, you were told to put, trees.
Yes.
All right, that was the planning board told you to put trees.
So I, again, I could go down so many rabbit holes as to, I would continually ask, if we do this, is this something you want? We had certain approvals, it got kicked back. At one point I said, okay, I'm gonna put in, and this is after months, I said, I'm gonna put in 31 green thuja monstrous trees and essentially build a wall of green. After meeting my neighbor, I had no problem doing it. But, you know, this was after literally 8 months of back and forth on something that really should have been a simple issue, you know, as it reads, substantial screening against your neighbor, which I understand to a point, but I was doing everything to fall within that. And again, my concern is not so much for the cost of the trees, because those are mutually beneficial to me because I no longer see the house.
You did put them up though, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, 31 trees and, you know, again, another rabbit hole, but.
You sold the plans?
Not following the decision from, you know, the lawsuit. He's kind of backed off. But then again, this is, you drain my bank account, he's made this a nightmare. And again, those are my personal issues, but I think a huge part of the basis of it were the actions made by the planning board or the inactions made by the planning board at that time.
Let me ask you a question. So you paid 500 to start with, then 4,500 after that? And four,
500 deposit, then a $4,000 in early June.
and then an 850.
And then you just got the bill.
Yeah, I have not paid this yet. I got this about a month ago.
And you got this sent to you.
Yeah, and there's been, it's been installed for 2 years. There's not been an email, a phone call, nothing. I got this in standardized mail. So here I am.
So what are you asking for the legal?
Are you requesting that the town board have a hearing pursuant to chapter 19 to address outstanding
Yes,
claims?
yes, I would like
Planning board
to,
fees.
I would like to pursue a hearing specific to chapter 19 and see if that was followed, not only for the $850, but also to the $4,000 that I've already paid. Now, I understand there's a certain amount of money, depending on what occurred, that I would be responsible for. But at least to look at that and say,
So the issue is with chapter 19, that pertains to outstanding fees that you haven't paid.
Yes.
So the board is empowered to look at any fees that are outstanding, and if they find that they should be owed, then the town can actually levy them against your taxes. Or if they find that they shouldn't be because they didn't follow it, then they can basically say that you don't have to pay it. But it has to do with outstanding fees, not fees that are already paid.
understood. And are there any provisions that would look at something like the total cost? Because, I mean, personally, I think $6,000, which is what it would be if I paid this, almost $6,000 for a site plan on just solar is outrageous. And I think if the town members knew that, no one's installing solar. Because you're already talking about a system that's expensive, a process that takes potentially a year. I just think if this was conveyed to me, if I was told that this project was gonna cost me $6,000 just to get 5 pieces of paper that told me where I could put the solar, I wouldn't have done it. But that was not conveyed in any way, shape, or form. The meetings were recorded, every single one of them. I guarantee you go back and look, it's not mentioned. There's no email, there's no conventional mail, there's nothing. I did that because I was in an emergency scenario where I had to pay for these things, or I couldn't have done it. I was put between a rock and a hard place by the members at that time. So I don't know if that's something that can be looked at. I'm not sure.
It's not something that this board's empowered, and I can't give you legal advice other than, consult an attorney.
Yeah. Well, I've paid enough of those fees to last in a lifetime, but at the very least, if you guys could consider it $850, that would be.
Even reduce the size of solar to keep that people happy.
Yeah, I did a lot to keep them happy, and I would imagine.
That's suggestion. You can schedule a public hearing. Yeah. Next meeting.
Yeah. So my only question specific to the public hearing was, does the letter go out to my neighbors similar to?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, technically,
Well, no.
it's not related. It's related to his fees.
No,
It's not related.
No, just-
It's not related to the
It's-
site.
Goes to the
There's public
newspaper.
notice, there's public notice, and it's sent to you, basically.
So Robert, you said
It's in the
not the
newspaper.
opportunity to come here and begin this nightmare all over. My primary concern.
He has no
because- All right,
standing
He
to
has no
determine
standing?
whether or not.
I know, but he didn't initially, but realistically.
See, what you're doing is you're actually invoking chapter 19.
Yes.
It says that, you should be getting a monthly statement on your balance.
Yes,
That's what you're doing here. It has nothing to do with your neighbor at all. That's a done deal.
Now, can chapter 19 also be applied to the process of the application?
Yeah.
If, I understand I already paid the money, but I mean, that can certainly go both ways.
See, that, chapter 19 just deals.
It
with
just
some-
deals with escrow fees,
Okay.
so bills, so under the statute, the board can
Understood.
basically, estimate what, professional fees that they would have to incur to review your application. And they're obligated, they can make an estimate, say, we think it's gonna be roughly 2,000 and require you to put 2,000, but they have to provide, the statement showing you how much is billed, and when it goes below the amount that you paid, inform you and request additional. So it doesn't apply to the actual application fee, it just applies to these amounts that are put in escrow for professional services that are incurred with regard to that.
So, and again, just for clarification, the lack of informed consent specific to whether these even exist throughout the application process.
As I said, you're gonna have an opportunity for the hearing to present pertaining to outstanding fees under chapter 19. But the best advice I can tell you is with regard to anything else, consult an attorney, talk to them, they can advise you as to which avenues are available within.
Thank you.
All right, what we do, I'd like to schedule a public hearing for the next meeting. So,
It's just,
Thank you.
you want to schedule it for a month from now.
all right, we're gonna schedule a public hearing
At the next meeting, we'll
at the next
schedule.
meeting. We'll do that.
Appreciate
So
it.
we're gonna, Ben,
Yeah.
you're gonna send that memo to the,
You need to schedule it at the next meeting.
And then have it the meeting after that.
I have it. meeting.
I'd rather have a
resolution right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
You want
Yeah,
to
you
do
guys
it
can
next
just
meeting?
vote to schedule and schedule. it.
Oh,
Sure.
schedule next meeting.
And then the notice will have to go out within the 10 days under.
It is 10 days, it's 10 days now.
The next meeting's 10 days?
The next meeting is 2 weeks away. That's
Or you
for
can
the
post it in
holiday. That's
the-
what I'm
If
saying.
we do it tomorrow, so then you know.
Yeah, but it won't get into the paper until, no, the day after.
Probably be Friday.
No, if we get it in by.
Well, the big
11 o'clock.
thing with this type of thing, as opposed to.
If it's under
this
10
does
days,
not
you can post
involve
it on
other-
post office
The only
and
real
public
notice
places.
is that he's aware that they're hearing this, because they're then empowered to levy on his
I'm just
taxes.
saying the public notice in the paper.
Yeah.
It's cutting it very
But if,
close.
no,
Tomorrow, if you put it in tomorrow, it's 10 days.
put it in tomorrow. It'll be on the paper on, he said it tomorrow before 11 o'clock. That's the
Tomorrow
deadline.
is,
Wednesday.
Tomorrow's on 11
it'll
o'clock.
get published on Friday.
It'll publish on Thursday.
I think if you do it first thing in the morning, it'll get published on Thursday.
They'll publish it on Thursday. It's been 10 days.
I don't know any of those information. You need section block and lot number. What's your address?
124 Pleasant Ridge Drive.
Pleasant Ridge?
Yes, ma'am. I have all of that.
You have the rest of the line?
I should have everything.
We have
Well, I can look that up.
We are pretty close to, potentially not. So if you guys want to put it for the first meeting in June, it would be the second Tuesday in June.
There's nothing to do anything to him, whether we have.
Either way, I appreciate it though.
This way, we're sort of.
Yeah, we're getting-
getting it right.
We don't want your neighbors to find out that, oh, Mr. Dead like right there, and then have.
Thank you very
No,
much.
you don't. Right. And he'll say the public hearing is in January.
So we can stay with the,
Right, and his, and it's Travis Wilbur, are you the only owner of the house?
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll, yes.
Okay, I think we're getting to that.
And I can.
Well, yeah, we'll just do what we did with the other ones. All right, anybody else want to make a public comment?
all right.
It's still public comment time.
So,
Make a comment?
I have public comment.
Uh-oh. Who's taking the minutes?
I just want to say that I totally agree with that. And I think that even the train might be prioritized. There's a road that goes right through the wetland, so I don't see, the things that we saw indicated that there was a way to build the trail and the railroad. But I do think that a better compromise would be that the train agrees to go electric sometime in the near future, because they're gonna be upsetting a lot more people. And at that point, if they got to continue their tracks to the Ashoka Rail Trail. Furthermore, maybe they can have a flag stop and where they propose the compromise station, just to pick up and give a ride to people who are walking on the trail. No parking, just, walkers or bikers who happen to be on the trail. And give them a ride for them, that flag stop to the Ashoka Rail Trail, or get introduced to, and maybe that, that would be a compromise that people could live with. There was something else on the agenda in the morning, the water. And I just had a couple comments about the old library.
What?
The old library.
in Northwood Main Street. I have looked at the plans and I see that they were putting in an electrical lift in the back of the building for handicap access.
And I would still strongly recommend that they have a non-mechanical access for handicapped people who get in the front door or back door. You know, a ramp, a nice little ramp that is leads to the front door. I can't imagine how much money that lift is gonna cost. Seems a little extravagant. But be that as it may, if the lights go out, we should be able to still get it in the building, and then still use the ramp to go to the front of the building. That looks nice, and there's more space to do that. Secondly, there's a little utility room, and has a door opening into it, which, I think should be more of a kitchenette. And maybe that door should just be open or sliding, so that they can get access to that. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak?
Please say no, please.
Hi, I wanted to thank you for putting on your agenda consideration of the town joining the Hudson River Flood Zoning Network. On the one
This one?
That's
FRN Flood Zoning Network, and it's local governments with committed pushing actionable steps to manage current and future flood risks. And we did that through peer learning on projects and strategies, which was a sharing opportunities for funding and training. And tonight, I'm glad that you signed up for the emergency communications. Facilitating communication between local governments and national partners, communicating on challenges and barriers as we try voice, and catalyzing flood action adaptation efforts. So, thank you very much. If you have questions,
Thank you.
That's it.
Any others?
Okay.
I make a motion to close public comment. Anyone? All in favor? Aye. Mike, do you want to say anything about the highway department?
I'm good.
Want to talk about the new truck we got?
The what?
This truck.
Well, I thought he was good. I did. It's on our Facebook page. It's on our website. It's everywhere.
I don't go on that rag anymore.
Was that like an old newspaper crack, by the way?
That rag anymore?
Thanking the board, for what you're doing to move the elimination process forward and the new highway garage. I think that, the vision to the future has to be clear. We don't know what kind of trucks and equipment that we're gonna be having in the future. We need to make sure we have a building that is gonna handle everything that's thrown at us in the future, the next 50 to 200 years. Because I'm expecting the life expectancy of this building will be 80 to 100 years. Our building, our current building is approaching 100 years, 1930, 31. I think they moved into it 32, but it started to built in the early 30s. And we just have to be prepared for whatever is coming down the pipe with the vehicles that we're going to be using. With that said, I did convince the board that in the interim, while they were trying to develop what the new motors are going to run on, whether it's ammonia, water, hydrogen, nitrogen, God knows what they're going to come up with. But we have trucks now that will get us through the period until such time as the new vehicle will come about. We got the first delivery of the. Oh, there it is right there. I drove it back. I think last Monday. I forget which day I drove back, but it's empty. It's a little bouncy, but they should serve the town well. It should cut down on our expenses. Our expense bills to repair the last 2 years have been happening. So it should help with saving us money. And I'm looking forward to it. Just want to thank the board for everything they've done.
Let them be afraid the snow was coming.
We have the extended warranties on them, so they're good for at least 5 years till they're paid for, and then I've been monitor everything to go. Also, I'd like to thank Ralph for all the work he does on the rail trail. He's taken over for Heather. And I just want to let you know, I try to do everything I can for you, but I always can't do it. I'm trying to get it mowed before Memorial Day. The rain has not been kind to us.
Mhm.
I did mow down both sides of the rail trail to try to keep it fixed back, because it fixed it really bad. Every one of my men, including myself, have had fix on us. But yeah, we'll try to get down there. We're gonna mow the flower. Wildflower beds too, a lot of sumac coming up there. And, we'll get that taken care of. We did take care of the first bridge. We didn't get to the second bridge yet. You know, the stars aligned with the weather that we were able to get down there and do the first bridge. It was just a matter of drilling holes through and getting it bolts and tightening them up. The line to come loose a little bit. I'm hoping the second one's the same thing. But we have a lot of work before us. You know, we're just about finished up on, Old 28 and Versal Hill. They put 60-foot pipe in today. We'll have to finish off with 10-foot pipe tomorrow. We'll prep that to pave it. We're trying to do a lot of paving in-house, but we can't afford, you know, the contract paving anymore. My budget's been flat for over 10 years, 300,000 for paving. We're starting to fall behind and taking care of the roads. Blacktop, the asphalt that they're putting, making the blacktop, but it's not holding up as good as it used to. I mean, we paved this road out here, it's been 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm seeing stress cracks and whatnot, and that usually doesn't happen. They're meant to last a minimum of 10 years, but we try to get, when we pave, we try to think 20 years on the roads. So, and we're doing everything we can in our budget to get everything done. So, hopefully we'll move down to the Joyce Lane. After the between now and then. We'll keep going on.
What about the kiosks?
Oh, that's good.
We're working on it, supervisor. I got the 8-inch orders. And, the 8-inch orders there when we get the time to get down there and do it. Charlie and I will probably end up doing it ourselves, because I got the 2 crews out.
On the
One
rail
patching
trail, there
and one
was supposed to
putting
be, I
pipe in.
think, 3
So,
kiosks.
yeah, probably Charlie and I. It's a wolf works and put the kiosks in. And, the new mower. We got, Patrick all charged up there, and you gotta figure out how you're gonna set that thing up though. You're gonna have to put it someplace to charge it. It's got 2 different type chargers. It's got a fast charger that's 220 volt. Got a 4-prong plug. There's no 4-prong plug at the whole highway. And it's got the 110 charger, which I'm sure takes a longer time. That thing is, yeah,
Where's he charging it right now?
okay. It's at 46%. He used it all the other day. It was at 96, and when he got done, it was 49, excuse me, 49% still. And, he took the new string trimmer down today and was using that. And, the electric blower. So the 2 need to get Kristen, when she gets back. I don't know if she's back in town yet, but you gotta get a picture of all that equipment.
Yes.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, work is on the ground.
Lynn also.
Let's get that more out there. One last thing. Please try to get some multi-directional microphones to the hearing impaired.
All right.
Thank you.
Now can we close? Are we closed public comment? We did. That was just mine.
That was the highway department.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Approve the minutes?
The last minutes we have, yeah, the 8th we have is draft. I don't have the 22nd yet. Oh, okay.
All right.
Don?
I just want to say, we just got a notice from, county that we are entitled to get $87,238.73 in mortgage tax receipt. That's the first one. It's come twice. And, coming soon will be our sales tax coming through it. I just want to comment about, what's happening at the pilot program, at the transfer station, at the leachate field. Truly amazing, you know, what they do. And right now, I actually sat down with them and we started looking at the test results that come up. Now, our results for PFAS and PFOAs is 100 parts per trillion, and it's 70 parts per trillion in that sense, which is the state requires a minimum.
Look, pictures.
Well, I think the maximum is 3 parts per trillion. So because of what happened, the city of Kingston suspended our rights to dump our leachate into the Kingston Wastewater Treatment Center. The pilot came in, and what they're doing right now is they are removing the PFAS and PFOA from the stream. Now, you can only measure as low as 1.7 parts per trillion. You can't even lower than that. And at the last testing they've done, they were lower than that. You know, so like, it's really working phenomenal. What is going through it, what they're doing is they're taking the leachate and they are pumping air into the leachate, which causes the PFAS to rise into a bubble. Then they can decant it. And then they deconstruct the entire PFAS. So in other words, they're doing now probably around 18,000 gallons a day of this thing. And they are actually deconstructing PFAS into like the thimble size.
They didn't let us take pictures inside the truck, but it's really cool.
It's a pretty interesting process to go up and
Yeah,
see.
what they do basically, they send it to big labs. I'm not sure about how to do they do down there. But they're the ones, they said the one that came back without 100 parts per trillion.
So if we do that, can you just put it into?
Do we have a lot of people that have other agencies?
Yeah.
Place for the
Well,
walls?
we've had, okay, all the county resource recovery agency was there.
I'm not sure.
Steve Noble, Mayor Steve Noble was there. Alan Winchell from Kingston Wastewater Treatment Plant was there. Sorties was there a few times.
Yep.
What's like, Bill County came down, so did some of the, candidates came down there.
Yep.
And,
County supervisor.
Sorties, waste disposal center, treatment plant, operator came down also. And then they also invited some, a town from, in Vermont came down also.
If you haven't seen it yet, I'd take a trip up to see it. It's well worth it.
I have a
It's,
question.
they take the water in and they put tiny bubbles in and they have a sudsing agency and all the people attach to the bubble, they can foam.
But the thing is,
Then
that
they process the foam a couple different times.
the thing is though, they have a sister trailer that does reverse osmosis. And what it does, like using reverse osmosis and using the bubble fractionation, they can produce drinkable water.
Yeah. Amazing. I'll watch you drink it.
Well, let's put it this way, it's on-site treatment, you don't have to do any more leachate for it. You can just do it
Yes,
outside, do it out there.
yeah,
So my
it's
question
amazing
is,
process.
I was just wondering, is there a place where the clean fill can drain away from the leachate into the normal?
The clean fill.
In other words, once you've cleaned the,
Because they,
I'm
yeah,
sorry, the clean leachate, is there a
No,
natural
we-
way
we-
for it to
so-
flow back into the environment
Yeah.
from there?
in other words, you can't take the clean leachate, that's minus the PFAS, and put it back into the environment. That has to go to the Kingston Wastewater Treatment.
It still has to be.
It has to be there because there's still other contaminants in there that has to be treated for that.
So
But this is something, the PFAS and PFOAs is something that the Kingston Wastewater Treatment does not,
They don't
dispose-
filter.
they don't filter it out. So Steve Noble is actually, talking to them about, because they have a plan in 5 years to redo the entire wastewater treatment plant, to have something like this, but then have something like this now. And then clean all the leachate that comes in. There's town of Alston, New Paltz, Jockey Hill, and Hurley. We go there, so they're talking about doing something like that. It's really interesting.
You should go up and check it out, man. It's pretty cool. And the guys are pretty nice.
Okay.
They don't hold it against us.
Well, they
That
Canadian.
we're American.
With their Canadian accents, I love it. Very Canadian accent.
I told them I'd get them bourbon.
But this- I'm just saying, that this is a phenomenal step. This is like something else. Also,
Took it off all the
in
shelves.
Jan- in a month, 2 or 3 weeks from today, we will be notified whether we got that $1.325 million grant to study how to clean up the landfill. I'm optimistic. I think we can get it. All the stars are lining that way. Coming through it. Our engineers say the same thing. And one of the beauty parts of the grant is all the money we spend on corporate associate to monitor, and so forth, and all the lawyers' fees will be reimbursed back to the town.
That's
By the
great.
grant. So that's something that's beneficial there. Okay.
No, this is great news, and the one thing that I'm sort of interested in is what's going on with the transfer station around,
Yeah, we're gonna go into those.
and I understand, I mean, with the complexity of that situation, with the relationship with the DEC, violation, which is also, I don't know, has to be dealt with. And I think it's on our conversation, we said one step after the.
Yeah, we're doing it, we're getting it resolved and so forth. The thing is though that, Bob has to speak to, Dave Powell, and give it all information. And so that's, we're just waiting on that.
Yeah.
Mike, I did want to speak to one thing I forgot. The, notice of violation that we got on the tanks.
Yep.
We had, Jesse Hicks come up. He's working with, Josh Cummins at DC. I don't know if you saw, I forwarded that email to you today. Josh got back to me. But that, storage tank that we have, it used to be for gasoline and diesel. It was 1,000 gas, 2,000 diesel. I think it was put in somewhere around 96, 97, and it had a 25-year shelf life. We're the only township in the entire Region 3 that has one of them left. When I came into office in 2018, they told me that it was expired and had to be changed out. We've kept it on. Some of those outlets, you saw the notice of violation specifically mentions that tank.
Yep.
I don't see where putting $10,000 into that is going to help us at all. I think that we need to replace that with a permanent 2,000-gallon tank that's going to serve the new garage and that, and because that's within 300 feet of that stream that feeds into the reservoir. So we're kind of critical.
Yeah.
So he's going to work some stuff up, but he's going to take care of all the stuff with Josh. We'll get those things registered, we'll get them removed. And
So I mean, that's already been, I know, you know, I saw the bills for that, so that the tanks are to be.
well, we have to register them, and then they have
But they've
to.
been registered, have they not?
No, they're not registered.
No,
Why are they registered?
they were not part of the transfers.
Not you, not your tanks.
But they were registered back in '96, I think, for one tank originally.
Right.
And the last time it was renewed, I think was 2000 or 2001.
2001.
So we're gonna add them to ours, and then 30 days after that, they can be removed. And then
So they have to be added to yours first.
he's saying because it's all one piece of property, he wants it all together. So we're revising our submission, because we do it every year in November, but we're revising ours to do what he wants. He said something about they weren't numbered right, so.
They were, in other words, the tanks in the transfer station, they're number 12. They were etched in there. I submitted both of those numbers.
He wants 12 and 13 on it.
Oh, both of them, no, both of them were etched 12.
He said both tanks have to have a number.
I know. But they didn't, they both had the same number.
He said they can't.
Right.
I'm saying, but the numbers that are etched in the tank are 12.
I'll do whatever he wants me to do to get it done. Jesse said he'd help get the form done because he's worked with him on other projects.
Well, Josh Cummins said, listen to Jesse.
And, and we'll go forward to get it all
Jesse's
made.
from
'Cause-
these,
Jesse's
company.
Huh?
Where's Jesse from?
He was on the pump and tank. He's got they got absorbed by another company, so he sent
Brought
me.
to the deeds.
Which is the bill that I looked at the other day that. The removal.
That's Vasco.
That's
Vasco is
different from.
right. Vasco is the one.
Vasco hauls the waste.
They're the ones who hold the waste oil away.
Moving the tank.
They are.
That's all I want.
Yeah, they remove the tank, but Vasco is the one that's saying that takes care of it.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, Vasco's gonna remove those two tanks and our old waste oil tank and 55-gallon drums of Speedy Dry that are oil soaked and filters and all that stuff. That'll go together. But yeah, because we got to move forward on this because, like I said, the fines are stated are 37,500 a day. So, and the new tank come in under 8. So we'll get it up.
All right,
So this is
let's get
about-
to the,
Are we being fined currently?
no, we're not being fined. They were threatening us with fine.
Good.
Okay, let's talk about the discussion topics. Appoint chair, members of the rail trail committee. All right. I'll read this.
Yeah, we actually doing this or is this just a preview?
This is a preview. This is a preview. This, in other words, we're not gonna pass any resolutions now. We're just gonna say this. This is for, Heather Hirsch has stepped down. Right, and we're gonna step up.
Right, oh.
Is there, all right, so basically, so we will pass this resolution at the next town board meeting.
Yes.
Okay? All right. The next one is the Hurley Rail Trail Race.
Yeah, this is something that I guess they received the communication from last week, and my legal advice is you need a lot more information from whoever's proposing this before you even consider something. There needs to be some sort of formal proposal, also showing what, their, insurance coverage. We also, need to know if there's no information, something that was basically presented via email to the town. And what I recommend is that, you.
More info.
Yeah, the next town board meeting is 2 days after they want to do this, but
They're not doing it on that day.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
There's issues with parking.
Yeah.
Of course.
Things that would need to be considered before the town.
Anyway, this was actually dumped on us by the rail trail. They contacted you guys first.
Not yet, contacted
Heather. And she dumped it on us.
well, it's being
Well,
worked
it
on.
has to-
Letters
you have
just
to
ask
look
that.
at it.
Okay, so we're gonna get some more
Sure.
information.
Sure. Take time.
Okay, the voucher retention policy, that, Lynn and you and,
Yes, so we have created a drive on the server where all of the vouchers are being scanned. So I have access to that when her room is locked. And we have decided on a naming convention for the files. And they are being, we have them uploaded now for this year.
And the purpose of this is what? What's the purpose?
Organized records keeping.
organized.
So vouchers don't
The
disappear.
vouchers don't, so the vouchers don't disappear. They're, plus we have them.
Scanned and can be provided when other people need them without having to give the original voucher and then all of a sudden, ooh, oh, well, I thought I gave it to this person.
Right. So this way we can control that access and, make that access available. And we'll be doing that going forward. If it works out, then we'll be able to keep the voucher, the digital files, and we can get rid of the physical files after 3 years.
Okay, so again, that will be passed on.
Yep.
Right. Next one is,
My only question with the policy procedures, what is the determination of how long?
Well, that's the regular schedule.
No, I mean, like, for example, the meeting's over, the town board meeting's over. You go through the vouchers, the minutes get passed, and then so let's say there's like a 3-week process, and then you can scan them at that point.
No, they're being scanned,
right
they're
away,
being scanned by the bookkeeper. She's doing that.
he scans them right now.
So then they're just drafts in the scanning,
No, the vouchers. These are just the vouchers.
but they're not approved until the board approves them.
Well,
We're talking about, so this is after the, right?
That's my point. There's a timeline in which has
Yes.
to take place, and then you can.
What, right.
You're not,
After they're approved, she
If
scans
they're
them.
approved,
that's my point.
Yes.
Right, okay, I'm trying to understand what's going on here, yeah, I mean, this.
Right, it was important to make them available digitally.
Yeah, I guess.
I agree.
So when they've been approved and I guess she's going to pay them, it's when Wendy
Right now.
was here.
All
think she
of
left.
these will be scanned. What you're saying is that these will be scanned.
They're all
now.
scanned, they're all going to be labeled in a certain, the files will be named in a certain way so that we can easily identify them by the number, plus the abstracts are also scanned. So you can see the abstract for each month.
When you scan them?
When, right in her office, there's
Once they-
scanning right there, so you go right through.
So, I mean, it seems odd that Wendy's doing that, it seems like that.
No, because it's right, she's dealing with it and it goes right through. The scanner is very easy to use.
Some of these vouchers, I mean, you're talking about the voucher with everything in.
Yes, yes,
Some of these things are like 8 pages.
yes, you just, it's easy. It's very easy. The machine is beautiful.
Just an attempt to digitize this
Totally
type
get
of
it.
record, and then that way, the physical one's gonna be put in boxes, stored away.
This one here, yeah,
Project.
this is.
I forget what the name is.
It's scanned.
It's a
Yeah.
desktop scanner. It just does scanning and works really well and quickly. So you can just put all these pages in and then they're named and then they go in the file.
Yeah, I don't have any problem.
So the naming convention will include the month, 25-03 for March, the number and who the vendor is.
I totally agree. I'm just trying to explain in my, not getting it through, is that what time does this and it doesn't say in this policy at what point
Well, we
does
can
the
add that
vouchers
information.
go into it. So there has to be an approval policy, there has to be approval process. So there's a timeline before you can.
Right.
So that's what's not missing in the policy. We're creating a policy that doesn't dictate when it actually can
No,
be
I-
scanned.
I'll go over it with Wendy so we can tighten it up.
That's all is basically we
This
needed to
is, this is
No,
for
I
discussion,
think it's
right?
great.
So that's what the plan is. And if that works out in the future, then we can, you still keep the digital files for at least 6 years, but then we can stop keeping all the paper files for longer than 3 years.
So again, you and Wendy will work on this.
Right, so
You have,
we've
you have
come
a
to an
recommendation?
agreement about the server and everything and how we're gonna name everything and, I have gotten the commission, we've got, the IT has set it up and we've already started using it.
So in relation to the vouchers, since we're on this topic, I just want to thank John for doing all the collation on the expenses, because I know this is a difficult task for you to go through all of this, but I really appreciate having those numbers on these vouchers.
It's just part of the budgeting game. It gives me a really good fresh idea.
Of course,
There's literally handwriting and things.
Yeah.
Imprints a little better.
I want to thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so again, we'll discuss that, you and Wendy will discuss that. Okay, next one is, resolution to approve the use of licensed event notification service called Lens. Whereas the town requires employees who drive as part of their employment to possess and maintain a valid driver's license report any changes in employees' licenses. And whereas the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles Licensing Verification Service Lens program will provide automated updates for each enrolled employee's driver's license record and provide daily updates on driving events that occur. And whereas this program is free, municipalities therefore be resolved by the town board of the town of Hurley to approve the event program for the town. It's free and goes right to the county. Okay, I make a motion and then we do. I'm sorry.
No, no, we don't. So,
So this basically is about the program. And basically, all the people that drive, all the employees that drive in the town, like to have a license. I mean, actually, the county did this in the appointment with insurance. Okay. All right.
The county's
I mean, this is not something that should stop it. We should enforce this on
Compared to now, they shouldn't.
Yeah. So you made a motion. I'll second it. Or I think,
Are we gonna pass the resolution?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Oh, good, hang on. Hi, guys. Good, so.
Now, on the next package, you have the social media policy.
So-
Look it over, and we're gonna talk about this.
It still says may allow public comment, so we advise what we can do next. We determined that we work for us.
Okay.
The comments and public interaction element was at my suggestion to Debbie and Mike. And I'd be curious to have a discussion with you folks. I think this is a reasonable compromise, but we can go around on that before you approve it.
Is the social media, is this, policy? What do we have to compare with?
I did some research on this about a year ago when Tim Kelly was first brought it up. And what I did was I just randomly looked at about 40 or 50 communities around New York State that have Facebook pages and found that the vast majority of them do allow commenting. I do not know how they control them. Certainly Facebook pages have should live by the motto, my house, my rules, which is that if somebody is profane or threatening or libelous or what have you, that we should retain the right to delete them and in very extreme cases, block those. One thing that I noted of interest to both Matt and to Debbie when we were discussing it recently was the town of Brighton outside of Rochester, which I know because I grew up there. Their supervisor, Bill Melee, is a lawyer. He's been the supervisor for about 10 years. And he's also also the head of the State Association of Towns, and I noticed that their town allows comments on Facebook. So I think if anybody was going to be a little cautious about it, it would have been Bill. But
My question really is in relationship to other examples of social media policy.
Other towns.
yeah, it seems that allowing comments, and by the way, one of the standing exceptions is the city of Kingston, because I think they just had too many trolls and too many people saying awful things.
I think you're misunderstanding.
Okay, I'm sorry, Greg.
Yeah, the question is, how many other policies?
Yeah.
Policies.
Right.
You looked at.
Right. I have not looked at specific policies. I have looked at examples anecdotally. So if you would like me to reach out farther to see if they have written policies, and I don't know that a lot of them do. One of the oddities of Hurley is that you have me devoting a great deal of time to this, where in a lot of other communities, you have, you know, the assistant to the supervisor or the town clerk or whoever's available handling social media. So it's not really, it hasn't really bubbled to the top of their thinking the way that it has at Hurley. So I can certainly send out requests to a dozen towns or whatever and say, do you have policy? And if you do, could you share them with me?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to have.
Sure. I'd be glad to take that undertake that. Sure.
I will say NYMER has a great policy, already put into place, that's free. NYMER, our insurance. company.
And what, do you know roughly what that says? I mean,
Where we were going by originally, that's what I
Is it
think.
not hard for, HR this?
No, NYMER, our insurance. company. No, they have a great social media policy. Yeah, when we started first having these issues, they actually stated that they have this policy, so I utilized their policy. Now, I'm sure it's been updated since then, but that policy was put into place back in whatever, 1920.
so I will look at theirs and I can certainly just pick 20 communities at random and email their clerks or whoever and say, what do you got? Sure. I'd be glad to do that. Yep.
Thanks, John.
And was there a separate policy for individuals that they were supposed to sign off on?
There
That's
is
what you're
one
talking
currently
about?
that is,
Right.
with the employee handbook, but
Right.
that's different.
That's different.
Right. Yeah. Everybody signs that when they begin employment with Hurley.
But it probably can't hurt to review that while you're. reviewing
That has
it
to
make
do-
sure there's consistency.
Consistent.
That has to do with posting on your own social media and not posting things about your town and such. Yeah.
All right, next thing also, that's to, Tony Bonavist, we got a $10,000, grant to upgrade our Wi-Fi at Town Hall.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tony.
And I told Jeremy also, I gave you the contract for that $10,000.
I have it.
And they want the publicity.
Yep.
Who's the grant from?
Uh,
Do you know?
County, I believe. Wasn't it through the
Not
county?
the county, it's a state.
But it was funny.
Tony,
I'll call it.
Tony worked on this. So we have it, and so we're gonna do, I spoke to MCS, and we're gonna sit down and talk about what's necessary, what's needed more or less. To upgrade it, upgrade.
Flood resilience.
The Flood Resilience Network, as I said, this is what, Betsy's talking about. And I think this is something we can just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we gotta do
Make a motion, yeah.
I make a motion, to send the resolution, to join the Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Okay, 44 Main Street RFP. We got the plans back from Paul Yankovich. This is the second set of plans. We started with the first set of plans, and we would go through that, and then, we made some changes there, and he did it, and he followed, came through real nice and so forth, so we have a plan. And we have an RFP out there, and we're just waiting for returns. If you know any contractors that are interested in the program.
You already have it out there, what is it?
We submitted our RFP already to the public?
Yes.
What is this resolution for?
You put that out into
I didn't put
the
it in, maybe it's now.
The resolution to do RFP, therefore just have it resolved. Put an RFP out.
Right, so if you want to tell you-
Yes, yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Did you just, like, the whole,
It's out.
so,
How did you do that?
Well, put it this way, it's on a draft, it's not unpublished yet.
Okay.
We haven't put it out yet. It's on-
it's draft.
It's
Right.
draft, and now we're gonna publish it.
This is 2027, so.
Okay.
Oh, right. That.
Okay, all in favor? I'm sorry, make a motion.
Yeah.
I make a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, I said.
Second, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that. Okay.
By the way, the money from the, benefactor, you have received it?
Yes.
Okay, next one is DAF, the new highway building. We're gonna keep that then. That's one,
Yeah, no,
that's done.
This agreement.
Okay, authorize the supervisor to sign agreement to hire Rosetta and Daganellis for Dallas Hill Point project. You asked before, the question was, that we had this, discussion last time, and we're concerned about the money. All right, in other words, what it is, the top pilot lawyer wants $400 an hour. The paralegal, I think it's 75, he said, I'm 75, one problem is, that the discussion, both the two agreed with this thing, and the stipulation was that the, Chief Libo, doing the pilot, he pays for everything also. And of course, $2,000.
in negotiating the pilot agreement, making one of the terms of the pilot is that they pay for
Pilot,
the pilot.
But another, have you seen the letter that the questions on the homeowner?
I don't.
That's $67.
450 is not very unusual.
I haven't seen it, but I was
That's
told.
what my opinion is.
We have the other-
But, yeah, so,
Don't even have to-
the, pilot lawyer,
Whatever this resolution is about.
this is the hire pilot
Well,
lawyer.
you can hire.
You can hire a lawyer.
Doesn't mean it's-
So we actually hire the lawyer, but the goal is that as part of the pilot agreement that he's negotiated on, his fees will then be covered by,
Have you seen the contract?
there is no contract.
Right, it's
Oh,
going.
retain
So
it.
this is a contract to retain the attorney. And
About
You're referring to the contract.
No, I'm not.
the retainer
You want
agreement
to-
was in the packet
Yeah, I
last
was talking about
month.
the retainer contract.
oh, you guys don't have it? in the packet?
Well, we have it.
Right, right.
We had a last time.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, you have that packet?
I don't know.
It was on last week.
Understand what I'm saying? So are those conditionalities in that contract?
No, not in their retainer.
No, no, it's not-
Their retainer is for their fees with us, but part of what we're going to negotiate with Dallas Hill to give them this pilot is that they will then pay our attorney. So they're not gonna sign a contract with us that says it's contingent upon the other thing, but we're not gonna sign a contract with Dallas Hill. We're not gonna give them the pilot.
Let me see it.
unless this term is in.
Is that the letter from them? Yeah. Take a look on the screen.
This attorney is.
That's it, right?
I'm gonna do
Right.
all this work. What if we bailed out of the pilot agreement or whatever?
Matt, the letter's on the screen.
So this is a retainer.
It's not like a.
Would you do me a favor?
Is this a retainer agreement?
Yeah, this is, the retainer agreement between
Joey, you can send that to
us
us, right?
and this firm.
Can I send this to Greg? Sure.
Can you CC me that? I never saw it. I wasn't here last month.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, so, are we gonna start, you gonna sign this?
Yeah. we can do this.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand what's going on. Yeah.
Well, the reason why we had it on that, forget me. Yeah. So, forget me.
Oh, you too, John?
Yes.
And we found out that we negotiated the lawyer's fees into the contract with Dallas. It doesn't work the same thing.
Give me a minute.
That's exactly what Dallas did. They negotiated, and when I spoke to, loan report, they said whatever we gave also, it was the same thing.
Yeah, that's.
You got it.
All right, so I make a motion to accept this, resignation.
Oh, whoops. Doing it now?
All in favor?
I,
Second, I'm sorry.
Second was Diana. Okay. And this, and this one here is, what do I have it here?
Yeah, comes back. The last one.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Right, okay. This is, again, a resolution to approve estimate for electricians for work at a transfer station. We hired Al Leon. We took the old shed down, put a new shed in there. We had to call Al Leon, to not take off the electric. He's been connected to the electric on basically. And so we have here, that's the course. Yeah. So we have an investment course over here. All right. And by the way, that 3,274 years, includes the 485 that we already paid it. So it's actually $2,800.
Making a motion?
I'm making a motion to pass this resolution. All right, all in favor? That's it. All right, so,
Before you might want to discuss
No, we were almost out of here.
election day,
We were so
oh,
close.
yes.
the primary
Election
election
Yeah,
day, and the
election
use
day
of the
is
town hall,
23rd.
the 24th.
Yeah, in past years, we've kept the town hall open on primary day, but closed on election day.
We have a meeting
So we,
scheduled for the
so
day.
we can't be there.
So you might want to reschedule your meeting.
We have a meeting that day. So I'd like to do it on that Monday, 23rd. Is that okay with you?
How's it
Greg?
looking?
What's that, a town board meeting?
The town board meeting for the 23rd, which is Monday, so election.
And they can't be in the building.
Oh, 23rd. I can.
Okay.
Let me just confirm that.
We can't go to 25th because that's planning board.
That's planning board.
Maybe do Monday the 23rd.
Let me just look at our town calendar and make sure nothing's conflicting on the 23rd.
Oh, yeah, I won't be.
How about the 26th?
23rd and 26th are both available.
Twenty-third,
That's the 26th.
June.
June 26th?
Yep.
That good for you?
the 26th of June.
23rd. Or the
23rd is Monday, but,
I won't be here.
Right, 26th is also available.
Can do the 20th.
You should put an email out to Deb and Joe. and confirm.
Yeah.
all right.
Because you're gonna need it.
Is there any day that you guys can?
I hate to say this, but you could do it Tuesday the 17th. Do your meetings on back-to-back Tuesdays.
I can do that, I can do the 7th.
All right, that's good idea. All right. Is it for you?
Tuesday, June 17th. Okay.
All right, I'll let, Joe and,
Just let me know for sure before I announce it, make sure it's okay with them.
Pass the letter back if you want.
okay.
You want to pass the letter back?
Yeah.
Or if you want
Oh,
to-
wait, oh.
Go to your file or something.
Now, is the town open on the primary day?
We've generally had the town offices open on primary
Yeah,
days.
but I can't be there.
Right, if you're in a primary, you shouldn't be there.
Neither one of us.
All right.
Phone number like that.
It can be the same channel.
What I want to do right now is, open up public comment number 2.
The one, the one.
Sold.
Second.
And close it?
Okay.
You want to do a motion to open and close it? then we can
Do
do it.
homework. Just need to get something signed and then.
I make a motion to close public comment number 2 and go into executive
So
session.
let's make that motion,
Make the
finish that
motion,
motion,
yes.
and then
I make a
we'll
motion.
articulate the
Second.
All in favor?
All right, so how many matters are?
Three.
And
Three. So
there
which ones are
three-
they?
So there 3 matters pertaining
You might
to
want to come up and get the thing signed
Employee
before we go to
discipline.
executive session.
for employee discipline.
These are your choices.
This is just-
All right, so you're making a motion to go into executive session.
Mike.
I make a motion to open executive session.
Let's let them finish what they're doing.
Let the notes provide the sign.
Yeah, just don't get that, but you don't need to have to say that. Thank you.
Does this all have to do with,
So you're making a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law 105F to discuss three matters involving the potential discipline of particular employees.
discipline of particular,
Oh,
two matters?
two matters
And one
involving discipline of particular employees. And what's the other matter?
just talking about employee benefits.
And one matter
You go to like pension,
pertaining to the
civil
is
service?
it appointment or a promotion?
Appointment. Okay.
Appointment of a particular employee.
105F.
Yes.
Okay. I make that motion.
And
These people in the highway.
And I also, Matt, John, and Lynn.
Okay.
all right, so
Did
that
we
motion
call
as amended.
Steph made it bring the case?
Ready.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm gonna vote that.